And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather for Friday morning, showing a lot of IFR here right up to the Alaska Peninsula there and a band into the southwest interior northward all the way up to the western Arctic coast, and quite a bit there along the northern valleys there south of the Brooks Range. Break behind that, some more IFR out there farther to the west. Areas of IFR here for the North Gulf Coast and the Panhandle. Not too bad north of the Alaska Range or to the south there, some VFR there, but right along the mountains, see some lower conditions. And in the afternoon, southwest flow continues to feed moisture right up into southern Alaska here, all the way up into the central interior areas, back down toward Kodiak Island, Alaska Peninsula, to the eastern Aleutians, and also up into south central Alaska, Prince William Sound, Panhandle here, some IFR lingering over toward the eastern border, otherwise becoming VFR along the coast, out to the west from about Atka Island westward. Not too bad. And for the Saturday morning chart here, still same pattern. Southwest flow pushing a lot of IFR here from the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, right on into the interior here, on up to the southern slopes of the Brooks Range there, with a lot of IFR here for the North Gulf Coast into at least possibly the southern Copper River Basin. Marginal VFR, some areas of IFR for the Panhandle. And then for the afternoon, not much change here, still a big swath of IFR from the eastern Aleutians right up across the Yukon, southern Yukon Delta, Kuskokwim Delta into the valley there, central interior up to the Brooks Range. But again, to the north there, good VFR, northern Bering Sea VFR. A lot of IFR here across southern Alaska and the North Gulf Coast into the northern Panhandle. Passes tomorrow, Anatuvik, marginal VFR. Same forecast for Adigan. Lake Clark on Merrill, though, IFR. IFR in the forecast for rainy and windy. And Isabel as well, go marginal from Mentasta, and then back to IFR for Tonita Pass. And for Portage, IFR. Chilkoot and White, IFR. Trending, look for some improvement throughout the day, hopefully becoming marginal VFR or better late in the afternoon. Freezing levels here, 2,000 feet, right up into the southwest interior over the Kuskokwim Valley there, 4,000 feet north of Bristol Bay and Kodiak Island area. And moving on to the icing graphic, quite an area of significant icing expected here from the eastern Aleutians, right on up and across Bristol Bay, Kuskokwim Valley and Delta, right up to the central interior there, extending back down across the Susitna into the Matanuska Valley, Kenai Peninsula area, and Fognak Island. Jet stream, big high over the Northeast Pacific, and the flow coming up and around that, again, southwesterlies, 165 to 170 knots here, right across the Seward Peninsula into the northern interior, then diving back southward here just east of the Panhandle. And at 9,000 feet, same pattern, big, broad area of southwest flow here coming right into the interior areas up to 75 or 80 knots here in the north, 50 to 65 knots down here to the south, and then coming over the top of the ridge there into the Panhandle at about 50 knots, 3,000 feet. Lighter winds here along the coast of the Panhandle. South to north flow here, 50 knots coming up into south central Alaska from Kodiak Island. Westerlies 55 knots for the western Arctic coast there. And going on to turbulence, big area of significant turbulence here all through the interior from the Yukon Flats there right on down into south central Alaska, Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay area, as well as the western Alaska Range. Moderate turbulence for the Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island area as well.